her bus to journey onward, but Master Atlan, Chapter 69, charging to danger. The door to the dorm room swung open as Naruto stepped in and closed it behind him and leaned back against it with a long sigh. How'd it go? He looked up and saw his teammates waiting patiently for news about what happened. Naruto scratched his head before pushing off the wall. Well, it was a meeting with Professor Osborne, Professor Goodwitch, and General Ironwood, so we could tell them why we were fighting in the CCT and totally wrecking shop. He toppled over in his bed with a groan. So it was about as fun as you would expect. They weren't angry at you two, were they? I mean, you weren't blamed for all the damage or anything, right? Oh no, they're totally understanding, but a little miffed, except for General Ironwood, who congratulated us on fighting whomever that was, and being exemplary students who hold to what huntsmen and hunters should be. It was really flattering and kind of made me feel bad. Being praised by the general of the largest military force in the world made you feel bad. Being praised by the general of the largest military force in the world, of which I stole weapons and other armaments from for 2 years in service to a crime boss, made me feel bad. Kiba didn't flinch as they realized what kind of situation he had walked into by going to that meeting and what could have happened. Sasuke continued questioning. But you made it back alive? Barely. In the room with Miss Goodwitch, who just stared us down with those judgmental eyes, General Ironwood with the silent threat of bringing me in and locking me down in the black side, and Professor Osborne just sitting down in his chair made it unbearable, and Ruby did almost all of the talking too. It was the closest I've ever felt to death. What about the woman you fought with that tried to kill you last night? It means nothing compared to all that. The blonde groaned into his hands as he tried to calm down from the stressful situation. When he peeked through his fingers, he saw his teammates watching him and waited for him to get serious. He sat up on his bed and shook his head. They didn't know anything about the tech either. All the cameras and CCTV had been remotely shut off, which left only us and the guards as witnesses, and none of them could identify that lady either. So she held you and Ruby off with weapons made of glass. He nodded as Tintin sat back in her bed as well. I've never heard of someone using weapons like that before. They'd be too brittle and easy to lose. But if she could fight off your aura and Ruby's crescent rose by herself, then she must be crazy strong. You said her weapons glowed and her arrows exploded, right? So they must have been made from dust. And that's what the teacher said too. Naruto stood back up and paced around the room anxiously. They talked that it might have been a technological weapon or maybe her semblance, but considering how versatile it was, the best bet was dust. But it was the way she fought that scared me. She wasn't some petty thug trying to sneak in. That girl knew how to fight, and damn well at that. And so there's some mysterious woman we can't identify who's interested in the CCT and can hold off two capable hunters in training long enough to slip away without anyone being able to track her. That prospect was enough to ruin their good mood. The others looked troubled, but with the meeting finished and all the fighting over, there wasn't much else they could do now. The first year team calmed down and relaxed in their beds as they let the moment of ease wash over them. Kiba tapped his foot on the ground before shaking his head. No way we're gonna get this out of our heads while we're doing our first assignment. Oh shit, we have our assignments today. How did I forget that? Naruto leapt up from his bed and immediately started checking under them. Oh man, that stupid meeting made me forget. Do I have everything I need? A bag, toothbrush, dust, a stray bandana, the broken holes from one of his old short swords, and the several collapsible arrows that flew out around him as he searched them. Damn it, screw that crazy bitch from last night. Hey, stupid. Sasuke nudged his leader's foot, making Naruto jump and slam his head into the underside of the bed. The blonde pulled himself out and looked up at his best friend with a scowl as Tochio pointed to the side. He looked over to see several bags packed with their sleeping wear, extra clothes, rations, and whatever else they needed for their trip. The blonde blinked surprise as Kiba and Tintin proudly smiled. We were getting ready while you were away. Didn't know how long you'd take, so we just packed up everything for all of us. The Faunus let out a relieved sigh as he stood up and checked over his... No! They all quickly jumped at the sound of the familiar voice crying out for help. They ran into the hallway just in time for Juniper to file out as well after they had heard the same cry. They turned to RWB's door, hearing a mix of giggles and laughter and gasps and yelps as things toppled over and crashed on the other side of the door. They hesitantly reached for the knob. It flew open, with Blake dashing out of it and immediately hiding behind Naruto. He tried to get her attention, but the black-haired Faunus forced him in front of her like a shield. Keep it away from me! They noted her panicked and desperate tone as Naruto grumbled. Blake, what the hell are? His eyes widened before he stumbled back. Blake doing as well as they tried to get some distance. No. The purpose for their immediate dread slowly emerged from its domicile like a beast on the hunt. Its tongue licked its fangs in an almost predatory fashion, like wetting its lips before a meal. Its beady, soulless black eyes sucked them in like an abyss and refused to let them go. The monster stalked forward, padded feet and nails scraping against the ground as it threatened to approach him. Aww, Akiba cooed as he bent down and easily swept a little ball of black and white fur up into his arms. He tickled its nose and belly as the little creature's stubby legs and tail wagged happily. Well, hey there, little guy. Woof! Oh, he's so cute. Nora, Tenten, John, and Pierre quickly came around and doted on the adorable ball of energy and cuteness happily wiggling around while he absorbed their attention. The wide-eyed little dog panted with his tongue rolled out of his mouth and little paws happily flapping. Everyone rubbed his fur and scratched his ears before Nora squeaked, "What's his name?" He's why Ruby popped out of her room too, her gloom expression from worrying about the conversation earlier now completely replaced by joy and giddiness at having the family pet here to visit. She slipped in and sneaked one hand through the gathered crowd to reach her puppy and scratch his scalp with a finger, getting the dog to stiffen and kick his leg out. Dad's off on a mission and he wants us to look after him while he's gone. Damn it, we just got rid of one mutt! Naruto grumbled under his breath, eyeing the small creature cautiously, as he knew cute little animals like that were the best at hiding their devilish evil schemes from everyone else. It was so those doggy eyes. No one would suspect such a monster to have them. He whispered to the cat he was trying to get off his back to use as shield. Where did it come from? Ruby Yang's father sent him over in a packaging tube. It was still alive and conscious for all of that time, stuffed into a space not even half its size. Blake's voice was terrified as she whispered this to her fellow faunus. It seemed to do the trick as Naruto looked even more suspicious of the creature as it happily barked and whined under the love it was getting. It has to be evil. The puppy looked in the direction with his ears popped up. Blake and Naruto's ears immediately dropped in return as they leaned away from it. Enough! Weiss sternly announced, getting all the noise to cease as the hares stepped out of her room and forced her way into the middle of the circle. She stopped beside Kiba and held her arms out along with a brow raised to indicate that she was waiting. The tattooed boy quickly deposited the Corgi into her arms as she hefted the creature up inside him. We'll be off to have our first official assignment at any moment now, and you all are out here fawning over a drooling dog. Blake held up her hand. Naruto and I are not fawning over it. Sorry, my mistake. Some of you are fawning over a drooling dog, and others are embarrassing themselves. The faunus fumed silently in response as she elegantly shook her head. We can't waste our time on such silly distractions. We'll be taking our official steps forward to become hunters. So how about we act like it? Her dressing down was precise and soundly delivered, about the fact that her fingers were dancing over Swai's belly and tickling his nose sucked away her credibility. This new Harris didn't even realize she was starting to whisper in baby talk before Sasuke poked her shoulder. Wai seemed to finally come out of her trance and blushed under the stare of her friends. She quietly bent down and placed the puppy gently on the ground where he ran in a circle and looked for more people to play with. She coughed to dispel the color in her cheeks. Now, with that settled, I think we can regain some modicum of rationality. You're still watching him. Weiss turned on Sasuke. Quiet! The others laughed at the hare's expense while Swai found new friends to play with. His new friends, however, being two faunus that were not at all fond of dogs, quickly clambered back and tried to avoid the little corgi like the plague. Not to struggle valiantly to pry Blake off of his back and toss her to the proverbial wolf, as the black-haired cat made it clear she was not facing the dog without someone in between them to suffer first. Seriously? Their shameful display was open for all their friends and teammates to view. I get this kind of response from Akamaru, but he's almost as big as us, and you're scared of that tiny little guy? We aren't scared, we're cautious. Blake amended while also subtly trying to push Naruto forward to act as bait instead of her shield. And I think we have some good reason to be around. I think we have a good reason to be around this dog. Why is that? Because that, the fox pointed down at the corgi who happily barked, survived them. He followed up by pointing towards Ruby, and why so, like that could explain everything. The rest of the first years looked between the dog and the sisters before shrugging and agreeing with the sentiment. The red and yellow girls gasped in shock and looked insulted by the insinuation. But before they could speak, the PA system turned on and announced over their heads, "Good morning, everyone." Glinda's voice echoed through the halls. "If all first-year students would please come to the amphitheater, we will start the preparations for your first assignment." "Oh no, but what about Zwei?" Weiss dropped to her knees and cradled the little bundle of fur and Jewel lovingly in her arms. "Who knows how long we will be gone on our assignment? He'll be alone. He'll starve to death without food and cuddles. What will we do?" Yang walked back into the room and picked up the tube their father had sent their dog in. "No worries, Dad packed some food in as well." She gently shook the tube as a massive pile of dog food poured out of it. She shook it again and the can opener dropped as well. Blake and Naruto stared at the anomaly before looking down at the corgi. Zwei stared back at them. It knew what they were thinking. Rough! And they darted down the hallway before the little impossibility could make chew toys of their souls. Zwei barked and watched his two new best friends run away. They left their freaking bags behind. Hunting. Remember when we took our first assignment? We were such a chubby-cheeked, fresh-blooded kitties. Agara was the chubbiest cheek of all. I was 15. Doesn't change how chubby they were. Oh, I feel pumped up just seeing all of them gathered together and prepare for their first adventure out to cover remnant of all team Gradient, who were either seated or standing to watch the first-year students emerge from the amphitheater with their first official assignments. Lee was the only one bouncing on his feet and failing to contain his excitement. The bull-haired fighter shook with energy before spinning towards his teammates. "In honor of the first years and all of our friends going off to fulfill their first missions, we should answer in kind by..." "Stop right there." Tamara looked up from her scroll and stopped her teammate. "Lee, we love you, and we can appreciate your enthusiasm, but if you ruin what is essentially our day off with training and running laps around the circumference of Beacon, I will blow your bowl cut off of your head." The bandaged fighter deflated slightly before she and Kankuro pulled him down to sit. "How about you train your mind today instead?" "That's right. Sit down, focus, and give your body time to rest. It can't be good to constantly push yourself like this. Just rest." Lee sat down. "What do I do after that?" "Well, we'll tell you when you get there." Agara's ears twitched and looked over to see their friends from Beacon emerge. He spotted a combination of red hood and an orange vest in the crowd before they made their way over. The shade leader nodded. "So, did you all make your decisions?" "We're off to the southeast," Ruby declared as her team hummed and threw their arms up with slightly less enthusiasm than the leader. The hooded Reaper grinned with joy. "Professor Osmond hooked us up with a search and destroy job down at Mount Glen. Oh, our first mission as real huntresses. I'm so excited. I seriously don't get it." Yang chuckled and clamped her hands on her sister's shoulders to stop her jumping. "We've already done a ton of these exact things already. Hell, we've actually done even more exciting stuff for fighting crime bosses and giant mechs. Why is this getting your blood pumping?" "Because these are actual legal activities. We're participating in Yang," Weiss answered as the blonde just shrugged uncaringly, "which means that we can do good without the mounting threat of detonation, of detention, or being grounded to the campus until we're allowed to leave." Blake clarified, finally getting the importance across to her partner, who gasped and covered her mouth. This was her chance to finally leave the school without having to be escorted by a big perverted toad or watched her teammates have a mental breakdown. When she realized that the blonde girl clasped her hands together in prayer. "Thank you for this chance to leave, and we'll be heading south." Naruto carried on the conversation, grinning and motioning to his team as well. We got a mission to provide perimeter defenses to a small village. We'll be holding back Grimmer while they beef up the security. In other words, keep people safe and kill Grim galore. Keep a grin while cracking his knuckles. Time to do what we do best. "What about Juniper?" Tintin fixed her bag over her back. "Their mission doesn't start until tomorrow, so they're gonna wait and relax until then." "It sounds like a plan." Kankuro chimed in from his lounging spot on the ground before tapping his teammate's arms. "Hear that, Lee? Maybe you can go to train with Nico's team so on how to relax properly." "Can't talk." The fighter grumbled on as his face contorted with strain, trying to focus on relaxing. They stared at Lee in confusion, trying to figure out how he could relax while looking so stressed and struggling to keep his eyes closed. Ruby coughed and looked up at their foreign students with a smile. So, we're about to go on our first jobs. Do you have any advice from when you had your first assignments? Oh God, that feels like ages ago now. Tamara laid back with a chuckle as she looked up and thought, we were such a bunch of little shits back then. Concord was being a brat, and Lee was pestering our husband for training tips, and God was being the precocious antisocial little leader we had to take care of him. I know that feeling, Yang exclaimed to her fellow older sister as the two exchanged a high five. Of course, doing so earned dirty glares from their teams, but they simply took it in stride. But you got any serious advice for first-timers? Follow your hunter, Gar said. Usually they'll be put in charge of the situation because they know how to handle it and how to best utilize you for the task at hand. Even if you think you know better about what to do, you don't know better than them, and trust who you're working with. Sound advice. Wise nodded in agreement. I think we should all take it to heart and think carefully about how we act out there. Her gaze lingered on Ruby, Yang, Naruto, and Sasuke. On that note, not saying anything, but the glare she was giving them, saying she was calling them out specifically. The hare stepped to the side and waved for her team to follow. Come, we can't be late to greet them, or else we'll be in an awkward tension for however long the mission goes on. And I'm sure we don't want that. Agreeing to watch the two beacon teams make their way to the docks, saying their goodbyes and promising to see them as soon as they came back. Tamar chuckled. What's the chances they cause some serious havoc while they're away? I think it's guaranteed, but if our time together has shown us anything, it's how capable they are in tight situations. Have faith that they'll make it through. Aw, it's so nice hearing you say stuff like that, Gara. Brings a tear to my eye. Guys, I think Lee's heart stopped from the absence of adrenaline. Hunting? Love it! The rabbit fauness raised her head and looked over to see Noctrix, and Ruby ran over to meet her and her team after finally returning home. The long-haired girl didn't have much pep left in her to greet them joyfully, but put a smile when they approached them. Hey everyone, love it! What happened? You were gone so much longer than we thought. We were worried about you. Yeah. We had to stick around in order to fight off the grim. The upperclassman showed her smile, but it was rather meek, and she was nervously rubbing her arm. There were more than we thought, and for each one we failed, another 2 or 3 would pop up in its place. But you made it back okay, right? It was sort of a close call near the end. Robert looked back to see her team feeling much the same way she did, tired and lethargic and thinking heavily about what nearly happened during their mission. But we made it out. Naruto looked at his older friend with concern and a relieved smile. I'm glad you all made it back. Velvet hesitated before showing the same amount of relief, albeit mixed with some anxiety. Yeah, me too. And I really hope you all enjoyed your first dances too. Man, as if this day couldn't get any more disappointing. Cole remarked, the older girl sighed and somehow looking less stunning and fabulous than she normally does. The coffee leader pulled off her beret and glasses, massaging the bridge of her nose and up to her eyes with a tired groan. At least tell me some fun things happened at that dance. It doesn't even have to be the truth. I just need something to pick me up that isn't a hard drink. Lots. We'll tell you when we get back. That'll make it all worth it. Coco chuckled before pulling her bunny-eared teammate into a one-armed hug. Come on, Belle. I think we could all use a hot bath and a nap. Oh, a bath sounds nice. The rabbit fauness moaned as she and her team stepped away, wishing them luck on their first mission as they went to go unwind from theirs. Damn, what happened to them out there? They decided to be better huntsmen than most and do something selfish, stupid, foolishly to the greatest extreme, but selfish nonetheless. The two teams of aspiring hunters turned around to find themselves joined by a tall, athletically built man behind them. He stood before them with an easy posture, his hands in his pockets, and a relaxation in his shoulders that none of them could match. Half of his face was hidden behind a mask, and the other was nearly hidden by unruly, spiky silver gray hair. But behind it, they could see a scar over his left damaged eye. His other looked at them quizzically before closing in a pleasant fashion that could mean he was smiling as a fluffy white tail slowly swayed behind him. What happened to Team Coffee? They're tired. They fought a long and hard battle for the sake of an entire village to escape to safety. They were grim as far as the eye could see, and if me and the other reinforcements didn't get there in time, I don't think it would have ended quite as well. That news made the shock apparent on their faces as the new faunus looked towards where the upperclassmen team headed. I'm sure they're taking the chance to reel back from what nearly happened. Time to relax, to unwind. Time to reevaluate what they'll do from this point onwards. I'm sorry, but who are you exactly? Kakashi. The group of students looked back to see Minato jogging over to join them with a wave. When he did, he approached the strangers amicably, and they immediately shook hands. Nice to see you again, sir. The man now identified as Kakashi chuckled under his mask. Been a hot minute since I saw you around the office. Well, Beacon keeps me busy. How Shikaku handling being in charge, hating every minute of it, and cursing your name. He's actually waiting for a call from you so he can chew you out. And that's why I haven't called him. Minato laughed before stepping aside and facing the young students. Everyone, I want you to meet one of my associates from Skigen, Kakashi Hatake. The faunus casually waved to the group, getting some scattered greetings in return before Minato looked at his friend. I thought you would have arrived earlier. I did, but I got word that some hunters were needed for a recovery mission and decided I could spare some time. But I got here just a little lost in the path of life. He chose to willingly ignore the groans of the students after they heard him say that, and instead faced the young hunters. So, an idea which team are we heading? This one right here, with a team of my son and his friends. Minato turned back to Noctix. Kakashi, I'd like you to meet Tenten, Kiba, Sasuke, and Naruto. The elusive son, Kakashi noted as Naruto's cheeks flushed from embarrassment. I look forward to the chance to be working with all of you from now on. If you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to ask. One hand immediately shut up, but instead of anyone on the team, he was assigned to he belonged to a short girl. He belonged to a short girl in a hood with black and red hair. He seemed completely okay with the newcomer's request. Yes, Ruby pulled her hand down. Well, feel free not to answer if it's something bad, but why do you wear a mask? Oh, because it feels nice. Okay, but what's under it? My face? No. What she's asking if you wear the mask even now when there's nothing wrong with your face because it feels nice. Can you take your mask off? Sure. No, that was a request. Why would I take it off now? The children all looked to Minato for some help with his employee. However, from the irritated look on his face, this was a conversation he had before with much the same results. The huntsman rubbed the bridge of his nose and let out a deep sigh before bucking up. Alright, well, despite his eccentric attitude with his mask, he's one of the best huntsmen in Skigen and possibly Remnant. Well, that's a loaded endorsement without even giving me a chance to back it up. Kakashi joked before turning back to the group. Well, it looks like you're all ready to move out. We might as well not waste any more time just standing around. Let's go grab a bullhead and make our way over. Noctix followed the appointed huntsman. They waved off their friends and teacher as Naruto called back. Good luck on your job. See you soon. Ruby called out as her team waved them goodbye. The little leader beamed with joy and could barely control her excitement. Oh, I can't believe we get to go on a mission with actual huntsmen and huntresses like that. This is going to be so cool. I'm just happy we get here. I'm just happy we got here to the end. Yang cupped her hands together and stretched her arms up over her. After this grounding punishment is up, and we'll be free and we'll be free birds again. Oh man, the first thing I'm gonna do is take Bumblebee out for a joyride. I can only imagine the property damage in speeding tickets. Blake chuckled at Wise's joke before she looked over and saw the older blonde still standing with them. Is there a reason you're sticking around, Mr. Namikaze? Oh, nothing. I guess just seeing all you kids excited for this reminds me of my first assignment too. I was so excited I couldn't even sleep. You were in the same year as our dad and Uncle Crow, right? Please tell us that story when you have the chance. Ruby pleaded while Yang looked excited at the chance to get some dirt on her parents and guardian. A moment later, the Reaper's eyes started to sparkle in silvery wonder as she gasped, "Wait! If you're standing here with us, does that mean you are? Sorry, but I'm not coming with you. But if it's any consolation, I know who is, and I can promise the remarkable huntsman that will have a lot to teach you. Really? Sorry I'm late." The young students turned around to find Ublik dressed in a trench coat and adventure helmet. The bespectacled teacher fixed his glasses and moved around with a jittery quickiness. "Are we prepared for a good time out into the unknown?" Ruby turned back to Minato, but instead of eyes filled with excitement, they were filled with sadness and wavering tears. "Please don't look at me like this is my fault. Hunting, is there a scar under there? No. Are you missing a nostril or something? Not at all. Weird unreshaped teeth. Well, I take oral hygiene very seriously, so no. Duck lips, what are those? Are they swollen to the size of oranges or something? I'm not that ugly. Then what's under your mask? Could just be another mask. If it was another mask, I think I'd kill something. Stop asking about the mask." Kiba groaned into his hands before looking at his leader with a scowl. "All you've been doing since we've gotten on the ship is asking this guy about his mask. Aren't you the least bit curious? I'm dying to know, but it hasn't become abundantly clear. Unless we rip the mask off his face, we're not gonna get an answer out of this guy. And no, I'm not suggesting you try to tear the mask off of a fully trained, experienced huntsman that even your father praises for his abilities. I wasn't thinking that. Yes, you were. Everyone in the bulkhead, even his other teammates and the huntsman casually reading across from them, answered in unison. The fox fawn frowned and leaned back in his seat with a pout as they continued in silence. A few moments later, Kakashi's eyes flicked up and he slammed his book shut. He pocketed it and looked out the window of the bulkhead before sighing. You all might want to get ready. Why? Because we're not going to get a chance to settle down. We've got to work. We've got work to do. The bulkhead lowered and the hatch opened up to the sound of barked orders and panic. Before the ship could even land, they leapt out and started making their way towards the source of the uproar. They ran to the edge of the town, slipping through the running people, the running people that headed for the center of the settlement. They sprinted and spotted a portion of the settlement walls that were barren except for some crafting tools and new stacks of metal. There were people calling out and yelling for support as they did their best to fend off the beast coming towards them. Noctix! Naruto cried out as he yanked the squall out of its sheath and charged towards the wall in a mad sprint. He spun the Nodachi around into a reverse grip and spotted the first grave in his path. Don't give him an inch! The creep that saw him coming turned his way and waited with a monstrous bellow. The whiskered huntsman didn't give it time to react as he sliced through its thick neck. It cried out before he aimed the hilt of his weapon on top of its scalp and fired an arrow into it. The creep's head exploded entirely as it flopped down dead. Naruto swiped his blade down. Clear those monsters out! Sasuke unsheathed his sword and narrowed his eyes before reeling his blade back and spiking it forward. His katana sailed through the air before piercing Ursa in the chest and causing it to stumble back. The bear beast looked down at the object protruding from its chest and tilted its head in confusion. Sasuke landed against its belly, standing on its armor and gripping his sword to keep him steady before he aimed the shotgun barrel of a sheath under its chin. Kiba leapt over the headless Ursa and pounced on top of a horde of Obertuska. He slammed a fist down on one of their heads, flooring the beast but failing to break through the armor plates. However, the tattooed fighter grinned with satisfaction as he grabbed the grim by the tusk and started to spin around with the creature squealing in protest. He released his hold and chucked it into another gathering group before pulling out his tonfa and releasing a rain of bullets in every direction. Tenten blocked the big wolf's claws as the nails clattered against her excrema. The bunny-haired girl narrowed her eyes before swinging her other stick up and slamming it into the monster's snout. It reeled back and covered its injured spot before her other stick came swinging into its chest. The dual sticks landed hit after hit against the monster's belly and caused it to jerk around and buckle. Tenten connected her sticks together and formed her staff before activating its ice features and stabbing the point into the beowulf's open mouth. Hey! Tenten jumped on the dying beowulf and ended up beside her partner, the two standing back to back as she raised her staff and he steadied his sword. Should I be concerned that coming here fighting off Grim? It's the most excitement I've felt in weeks. After everything that's happened with us stuck at Beacon, a fair cocky smirk showed on the raven-haired teen's face. This feels cathartic in comparison. The 14's handled most of the grim gathering on the weak point of the wall. They were very badly holding the horde back and killing everyone that came into their path. He had some notes and pointers to make about how well they were using their abilities to do their jobs, but Kakashi definitely could see their potential. The scarred man stepped past the wall before he heard a much louder cacophony of roars and screeches echo out from beyond the forest. The wolf faunus looked up and saw a stampede of grim breaking out through the trees and charging to attack them. The Beacon team paused and noticed the sheer volume of beasts coming their way before quickly preparing to fight again. Kakashi sighed and drew out the two blades from the holster on his legs. He spun them in his hands as they glowed and cracked with lightning dust. He started swiping and swinging at the air, getting nimble and practicing his slashes. As he continued to swing and cut at the air, his movements started becoming swifter and faster. The beasts were approaching the young hunters as the older huntsman's swings became nothing but blurs. Then he dashed forward. The Noctics were nearly blown off their feet by the silver flash that blurred past them with bolts of lightning behind it. The blur made its way through the horde of Grim before it could reach them. There was the faint sound of flesh being slashed before multiple monsters and armored beasts fell apart into chunks. Some had their heads cut off, others were slashed to ribbons, but none of them could react in time against the force that moved through them like a storm of blades. Akashi came to a sudden stop, tearing up the ground beneath his feet, and caught in a massive burst of wind around him from the air pressure. Noctix stared at the man in shock as he carefully wiped his blades and looked up at them with a smile under his mask. "I thought it'd be a good idea if we could reconvene and meet with the residents of this town to set things up." They barely registered what he said as the battlefield rim behind him faded away. "Hey!" The hunters looked back and saw a group of villagers gathered by the wall and looked at them in shock. One old man stepped up and called out, "Who the hell are you guys?" "Oh," Naruto coughed and stepped up with a smirker. "We're the hunters from Beacon. We've come to help. Sorry we're so late, but you know what they say about heroes in lateness." There was a lull of silence before the blonde nervously chuckled. "Sorry, ignore that image. I imagine I said something much better as a greeting. We got lost in the path of life. Not that. Ignore him. He does not speak for us." "Technically, I do. Not when you spout the lame shit like that." Extra, the first to cross. Kiba whistled a jaunty tune and made his way down the hall. The Inosaka had his hands in his pockets and stood a little taller than usual. He felt like he could skip his way to his room, except when he turned the corner, he found himself blocked and glared down by every guy friend or acquaintance he had made since coming to Beacon. Naruto and Sasuke stared at him dangerously. Ren had his arms crossed, and without amusement, John looked on the verge of tears. Even people that he didn't know, as well as like Konkuro's son, Neptune, Lee, Sage, and Scarlet, were eyeing him oddly. Hi, Kiba," his partner growled. "Where were you last night? At the dance?" "At the dance?" Kiba responded like it was the most obvious answer. "Root me on. You saw me there. I danced with Tenten too." And or when she demanded, Sasuke picked up. "And after that?" "After? Prosecutor Ren, the evidence." The boys separated to leave the green-clad martial artist the most room with a projector and screen. He flipped through a number of pictures taken at the dance, with each one coincidentally having him and Neon in the shot. Ren spoke in a lectured voice. "As you can see, the defendant Kiba Inosaka was joyfully dancing with his data Neon Cat. This continued on for some hours until at this point he pointed to a picture that suddenly lost them. They were both gone. No one saw where they went. No one could find them, and they didn't come back for the rest of the night. The defendant did not even return to his room until 3 in the morning. I don't know what this exhibit be," John yelled as he lifted up a plastic bag that made him openly weep. "This box is missing several pieces, and they could only be used for the condoms. Do you mean, sir?" The other boys hissed and reeled back as if the word was harmful to them. The fox-eared judge scowled at his tattooed partner and snarled, "Kiba Inosaka, you are accused of the worst crime a guy in a group of male friends could commit. Getting ahead. How do you plead?" They waited anxiously for his inevitable guilty confession. "You guys are such losers," Kiba stated, his words harsh but obviously true, as it made all of them flounder and hang their heads in shame. "I don't know what you think happened, but I got better things to do later." Kiba turned and just walked away before things could get weirder. "Kiba!" He looked over as Neon came running up to his side and stopped with a bounce. "There you are! The dance last night was so much fun, and that music was killer." "I thought so too. I'm glad I took lessons on how to dance before going there. Well, you still got a few moves you need to learn before you can really come out clubbing. Don't worry, I'll make sure you're ready." "Thanks, Neon. The dance was fun, but..." Her eyes lowered suggestively as she held a hand to his chest. "That wasn't the best part of the night." "Oh?" Kiba smirked. "You thought so too?" "Yeah, now that was a party." Neon fiddled with one of the strings from his hoodie as she smiled shyly. "Hey, when we get back, do you want to hang out together again? Maybe we can find some time alone and, you know..." "Oh, I'm definitely up for that." The young couple giggled together before sharing a quick kiss. Neon waved him goodbye and made her way back as Kiba did the same. When he was done, he turned around. All of his guy friends were watching with open jaws and disbelieving eyes. Kiba just stood there silently before slowly raising his hand in the air and closing it as a triumphant fist. They fell to their knees and cried before the champion. The girls watched from the side with looks of confusion, disgust, and disappointment, except for Ruby, who cupped her chin and tilted her head in thought. "Oh," she snapped her fingers, "it's about sex." "Right, they're talking about sex." "Yes, Ruby, shut up." End chapter 69.